When it comes to humanity's journey to the stars, movies and novels often depict thriving space cities, teleportation portals, spaceships, sleek starships, and casually capturing aliens. However, while the ideal is grand, reality is much harsher. As of 2024, 440 people worldwide have ever been to space. In this situation, fantasizing about voyaging among the stars seems a bit unrealistic. It's like you don't even have a girl's contact information, yet you're already thinking about how many tables you'll have at your wedding, or which kindergarten your future child will attend. Clearly, this doesn't align with the objective laws of how things develop. If we want to colonize other planets or reach level 3 civilizations, the first problem to solve is enabling large-scale human access to space. Take it step by step, move too fast, and you might hurt yourself. So, what exactly does large-scale access to space mean? It means it's not astronauts people like us can go to. Whether you've planted rice in summer, heartbroken by online romance, slept on Widow's Kang next door, or fallen for a scam for a child, everyone would have the chance to go to space. However, people have different constitutions. Under 8 or 9 Gs of acceleration from a chemical rocket, astronauts might grit their teeth and tough it out for a while, but ordinary folks like us would probably go from O'Neill to Wu Delang in an instant. So, first and foremost, the way we get to space needs to be comfortable. Secondly, with current chemical rockets, the weight ratio of fuel to useful payload is 9 to 1. Why is it only 1 to 9? Well, 9 parts of that is fuel, and whether you can even get 1 part as payload depends on Earth's gravity. For example, the American Saturn V launch vehicle weighed 0 tons at liftoff, but its payload was only 45 tons, the rest was all fuel. To put it simply, if you want the rocket to reach the first cosmic velocity as quickly as possible, you have to eject a massive amount of propellant in an instant. The more and the faster, the better. This makes chemical rockets extremely expensive, and most of them are still single-use. So if we want to scale things up, we have to bring down the cost of going to space, make it cheap to break through the atmosphere, so that everyone can afford to go to space. And to do that, we need to reduce the weight of the fuel. But if you want to haul a large payload with very little fuel, basically trying to make a small horse pull a big cart, this kind of thing is only possible if we achieve controlled nuclear fusion. Of course, we all know what the reality is. But while we don't have controlled nuclear fusion, we do have uncontrolled nuclear fusion. In science fiction novels, there's actually a pretty wild way to get into space nuclear pulse propulsion. Simply put, it means dropping hydrogen bombs behind the spacecraft, using shockwaves from nuclear explosions to propel the ship to escape velocity. During the Cold War, the US actually worked on something similar, the Super Orion and Pulsed Interstellar Arc projects. The operation involved ejecting an atomic bomb from the back every 10 seconds. Just hearing about it would make Hiroshima turn pale and Nagasaki nearly sink in despair. This plan was clearly not reliable. To say nothing of anything else, just the operation of throwing out an atomic bomb every 10 seconds, the margin for error in this project was visibly low. The nuclear explosions were just too intense. The force could send bricks flying and the spacecraft would reach space, but the people inside would likely be blended together from the extreme acceleration. You might as well gamble on dying quickly. Plus, tossing nuclear bombs around always carries a safety risk. How could that be allowed? Why would someone working in aerospace even need nuclear bombs? And anyway, using nuclear bombs is way more expensive than chemical rockets. So, is there a way to get into space that's both affordable and comfortable? The space elevator in Lou Shixon's The Three-Body Problem and The Wandering Earth is a low-speed spaceflight. The principle is very simple. Build a synchronous space station on the geostationary orbit, which is 35,786 kilometers above the Earth's surface. The station's orbital period matches the Earth's rotation period, so it remains stationary relative to the ground. Then, a cable is lowered from the space station straight down to the Earth's equator, and the elevator car of the space elevator travels along this cable. The ancients often spoke of soaring 90,000 Li straight up, but in reality, you don't need 90,000 Li, just over 70,000 Li to reach geostationary orbit is enough. Since the space elevator is powered by electromagnetic force, it doesn't require high acceleration, so ordinary people like us can ride it comfortably. The experience is about the same as taking the elevator from the lobby to the 3rd floor in Honglangmen. You can sing, dance, rap, and even lift your spirits inside. Of course, in the end, space elevators can only exist in science fiction. They represent humanity's beautiful dream of exploring the universe in the future. As everyone knows, dreams always differ a little from reality. For example, when I was a child, my dream was to become a scientist, but I never expected that when I grew up. All I could do was brag on the internet. The concept of a space elevator is just like the idea that if everyone in China gave me 1 yuan, I'd become a billionaire. It's simple in principle, but the engineering difficulty is extremely high. The biggest challenge lies in the materials. To build a cable 0 kilometers long, hanging down from space, its own strength simply couldn't withstand the pull of Earth's gravity. At present, the only material humans have developed that can barely meet the requirements is carbon nanotubes. Its microscopic structure looks a bit like fishnet stockings, but in reality, its strength can reach 100 times that of steel, while its density is only 1/6 of steel. However, it has one small drawback. It can't be mass-produced. So far, the longest carbon nanotube made in the lab is only 50 centimeters. Of course, materials don't just need to be strong. For a space elevator, whether transmitting electricity from the ground or from a space station, the long transmission distance would cause a huge loss of electrical energy. Transmitting power needs superconductors. That's why, if humanity wants to enter space on a large scale, energy and materials are two hurdles we simply can't avoid. Both are indispensable. The journey to the stars and the sea is long and full of obstacles.